My family and I have been pretty insular from the outside world as far back as one could expect. My great-grandfather moved our family to the outskirts of nowhere, Wisconsin, and to live out the family business of trapping and hunting. We've stayed in the same remote area ever since. It wasn't much, but it gave us enough food and income to sustain ourselves. Folks around here don't trust much of the world outside the great woods and have come to trust our neighbors instead. You'd think in such a remote part of the world, you'd be pretty close with your family. Well, you'd be wrong. All my life, my father went out into the woods surrounding our pasture, hunting for game. It didn't matter what he'd be after: deer, elk, pheasant, even black bear. Any excess meat or hide we'd sell to local markets or trade with neighbors. Despite this, hunting kept my father away for most of my life. He missed every important period of my life. My mother gave birth alone in the hospital while he hunted in the woods with my older brother, Rhett. I wasn't there for my first steps. Never helped me with schoolwork. Little league baseball games, a no-show. He didn't even bother coming to my graduation earlier this year. The only semblance of a father-son dynamic was he'd come home each night and give me a hug. No words, just a 10-second embrace and occasionally a kiss on the forehead. He'd always smell weird, like old grass, dirt, and body odor. I could see the lifeless, ragged look in his eyes from a long day. His absence would be worth it if he actually knew how to hunt. Despite how long the family has been in the hunting game, I've never seen him bring a single prize. No deer, no elk, not even small game like rabbits or squirrels. Was he just messing around in there? I knew he was in those woods because I would hear his rifle constantly. Even in the dead of night, I'd hear the piercing roars of his Winchester 94 off in the distance once every few hours. I used to think he must have seen something in those if he fired off a few times every 7 or 8 hours or so. Dad and my older brother, Rhett, never took me on their hunting trips. They always told me I wasn't ready, despite practicing with the rifle since I was strong enough to hold one as a 6-year-old. I was good too. The purposeful distance never helped them. Thankfully, Rhett was a much better hunter than Dad. Most days, Dad and Rhett would venture into the woods together, like clockwork, but it would never be Dad to make the kill. Rhett always brought in the big game and supported us financially. In the evenings, I'd help Rhett out with skinning, processing, and packaging the meat. Rhett and his wife, Jess, recently moved back into our home. Rhett was 30 and was preparing to be a dad of his own. Jess was in her 3rd trimester, and while Rhett was working his ass off to be a provider, our dad was always out in those woods, wasting the days away from his family. Rhett and Dad often took shifts so that one might have an opportunity to rest. It was difficult to not be resentful, even with his occasional evening hugs. Those don't make up for lost time. I recall one night when I was 16, talking to Rhett about Dad's disappearance. We didn't talk too much about our feelings, but what's an older sibling meant for, if nothing else? Rhett, I mumbled, why does Dad not want to be around me? I recall Rhett pausing his hands, looking down pensively at the young elk hide he'd been cleaning since noon. He does want to be around. Dad does love us. He really does. He just... Rhett exhaled sharply. It's not my place to say. Not yet. Just know he is doing everything he can for us. For you. He and I both do. You'll understand when you're older. Rhett hugged me close once he saw how watery my eyes were from frustration. I didn't know at the time, but Rhett was right. Even if he seemed non-existent, he was out there doing the best he could. I know they say it's the thought that counts, but it would have been nice to be near him more growing up. Everything changed about a month ago when I turned 18. I had just graduated high school and was still considering what to do with my life. I initially wanted to join the family business and hunt alongside my brother. But if I couldn't join in, maybe go off to community college. Make a name for myself. Make Dad proud that I'd become something other than some Voyager wannabe in the Midwest. Last month in the early morning while Rhett was out in the woods hunting, Dad came into my room. Time to get up, Will. Get dressed, there's something I need to show you. I got up groggily, waking up with another head full of messy brown hair. What do you want? I'm not in the mood today. My dad sat at the foot of my bed. I know it's been hard. It's difficult for me to explain, but there's a reason I'm always off in those woods. I think you're old enough now to understand better. Just know that whatever you're about to see, I've done it for you. Rhett's been pushing me to take you out into those woods earlier, but he knows my reasons for waiting. Happy birthday, son. It's time I took you hunting and taught you our family business. Great, finally 18, and my first gift from my father was work. Something felt off, though. Dad always seemed weary, but never this invested into my own personal life. I grabbed my jacket, brown cargo pants, boots, and got out the door. For the first time ever, I went hunting with my dad. Our trek into the big woods took over an hour. Pine trees loomed over us, blocking out the sun as we ventured further and further out into the woods. It was pretty barren, and we never ran into or saw any animals worth shooting. Eventually, we reached a tall deer stand used for hunting with elevated range. The tower stood several meters off the ground, standing solidly in place by the massive iron poles and wire anchoring the structure to the earth below. The windows was covered by camouflage blinds, blending the box-like structure into the spring foliage around it. The only into it was a shabby wooden ladder. It was a bad time to admit to my dad that I was afraid of heights, but I wasn't about to blow my one chance. Entering the hunting stand, I was sat amazed. Hundreds of pictures lined the walls inside the room. Some recent, most old, and then family pictures. Looking closer, I realized that they were pictures of important moments of my life. Pictures of me as an infant, me wearing an oversized Little League uniform before my first game. Pictures of me in bed, sleeping as a toddler. My first bath, church events, all with me front and center. Mom and Rhett were in them too, but it was clear that I was the focus of this collage. Dad, what is all this? He looked at me, smiling softly. Will, I know I haven't been around too much. Not spending time with you, not seeing you crawl as a baby, not being there for your first steps, seeing you grow. It was heartbreaking. All I want to do is protect you, but... He paused, voice cracking. There can only be two hunters at a time for this thing, and I didn't want to subject you to what I've had to do these past 18 years. I'm getting older, and I want to spend time with you. The real you. And I can't keep doing this forever. It's time you take over. Dad, what are you... I was interrupted by a hollow cracking noise coming from the woods. It sounded far, like a dead tree falling down. Only there was no loud crash, just more cracking. Hold that thought, son. Let's get this done quickly. I've fixed the rifle at its head. I need you to see what I've been hunting all these years. I shimmied over towards the rifle. It was postured with a metal rest, fixed towards a dark region out into the woods. Looking through the scope, my heart dropped. Far off into the woods was a gangly figure, splayed out across the forest floor, a body without a head. Its old-timey clothes made it stand out like a sore thumb in these woods. Whoever this was, they wore corduroy pants, an ivory-collared shirt buttoned all the way up, and a dark gray withered suit jacket one might see in a production of Oliver Twist. I jolted backwards, twisting my head so fast it almost gave me whiplash. Jesus, Dad, what the fuck is that? It's not what it looks like, son. Look closer, son. What do you see? In horror of the fact my dad could be a murderer, I turned back around through the scope. He was right. Looking closer at its arms, it seemed human-shaped. But I've never seen forearms extend that far past a man's knees. Its middle finger was noticeably longer than the others, all 7 of them. Its knees were off too, not inverted like a dog or bird. Its knees were splayed perpendicular to its torso. Strangely enough, its corduroy pants seemed to be tailored specifically for whoever or whatever this was. The cracking noises persisted. It took me a minute, but it was apparent that the shifting sounds were emanating from the mysterious corpse. Well, what exactly am I looking at? Son, the rifle should be aimed directly at its head. No matter what you see, I need you to pull the trigger. Waiting too long will only put us in danger. What? Dad, please, what's going on? I don't... The body shook viciously, its headless frame spasming on the forest's floor, crunching with each jerky motion. Now, Will, the second you see its eyes, pull the trigger. I grabbed the rifle, trusting the man I once barely knew in a situation I barely understood. Peering through the scope, I saw what he meant. The top of its skull was slowly reforming. It would be inaccurate to say it was regenerating, like a lizard growing its tail. Instead, the bloodied mud and earth beneath its wound seemed to slither towards the headless corpse's neck, forming first into an oblong shape and morphing slowly into what resembled a skull, a human skull. Do you see its eyes, Will? I could feel my heart pounding, watching whatever this thing was slowly creeping its way back to life. Its massive middle finger began twitching, whipping backwards towards its forearm like a scorpion's tail. Its chest began lifting up, breathing, its ribs almost piercing the white shirt it wore. At long last, the head had returned. Its long neck seemed to struggle, lifting its head up slowly. I've seen freaky monsters in comic books and movies, so I was expecting the worst, bracing for whatever this beast was. Its face shot right up while reclining. Dark blue eyes met mine. It spotted me instantly, as though it knew exactly where I was. There was something familiar about its gaze, though. Looking closer, I realized it had my face, down to every minute detail. "What the fuck?" "Now, Will," yelled my dad, sitting right beside me with his binoculars. "Take the shot now." The not me's face bellowed out a hollow noise, like a broken siren. Its voice piercing my brain, though it spoke no words. Its arms slowly dragged up, bracing itself to stand up. I pulled the trigger. The bellowing stopped. I closed my eyes while pulling that trigger, but there was no mistake. Its head was blown clean off. There was a minute of silence between my dad and I. Dad broke the silence first. "Good shot, son." We spent several hours up in that box. He explained everything that night. Whatever that thing was, it had been following our family for generations. Dad thinks it's an alien. Our great-grandfather called it a doppelganger. Whatever it was, it used the visage of the youngest man in our family. If left unattended, it would slink closer to whoever's face it wore. It never reached any of our family members because, each and every day, 2 members of our family would go out and hunt it down. Its body barely took any damage, aside from the head. It took time to regenerate, but would always regenerate. This is what my father had been hunting all these years, hunting the not me for the entire course of my life. "It was difficult, you know." "Oh no," my dad began. "When you were born was one of the happiest days of my life." I chuckled. "More than when Rhett was born?" He laughed. "Don't get too cocky. Before Rhett, that thing wore my face, imaging you trying to kill yourself over and over again. Thankfully, my father, your granddaddy, took most of that burden. When Rhett came into our lives, that beast changed. I don't know where its clothes came from, but its face always shifts into the youngest. It expects you to protect it, or at least neglect from attacking it. I don't know what it wants with us. All I know is that now it's after you." I turned back toward the body of the beast. Its body laid motionless, but I could see its splattered blood from across the trees slowly slither back toward the ground in the direction of its husk. "When you were born," Dad continued, "it took your face, your infant face. I came out here each night, taking that thing down over and over again. Seeing your chubby infant face through that scope was like hell. Pulling the trigger was worse. I cried every day, knowing that it was like killing my son over and over again. That's why I have your pictures around constantly, to know what I'm really protecting, and to remind myself of the fantastic life you have. I may not be around much, but I'm proud of the man you have become. The beast out there is hollow, lifeless. It just imitates you, but it could never be you. I couldn't live with myself if that thing ever took you out of our lives, or worse, tried to take the life you have for itself. I regret the time I spent not being near you, but it was worth it to preserve the man you've become and the son I love so much. I hope you can forgive me." Of course I forgave him. I mean, the poor bastard has been killing forest demons for decades now. Who wouldn't feel bad for the guy? We both spent several minutes tearing up, sharing our feelings while splitting a pack of Coors Banquet. He shared his excitement to start golfing as a pastime. He also shared his concerns for the future. Back when I was young, the beast would grow its head back once every 2 days or so. Nowadays, it's at least 3 times a day. It grows faster based on how old the person it personifies is. I was hesitant to start hunting this thing down each day, but I was happy that we got to hang out more. While he'd be around, he shared with me that it was time for him to retire. "There can only be 2 hunters at a time, boys." He constantly harped at us. Apparently, I had an uncle at some point who tagged along with Dad and our grandfather as a third wheel. It didn't end well for him. When I'm not busy hunting, I get to hang out with my dad. Now that he's around the house more, we've gotten to catch up on a lot of lost time. Turns out he's a massive Red Wings fan, just like me. We even got tickets to a few of their games for next year. It was confirmed that while Dad enjoys his retirement, Rhett would take over as the main hunter for the beast in the woods. while I took over Rhett's job as the primary provider for the family's hunting business. Rhett went into those woods 3 times a day, just like Dad. It's been somewhat of a seamless process, albeit unnerving knowing my brother was blowing my brains out across the forest floor each day. Things will be different now, though. Just this morning, Rhett's wife went into labor. They had a happy, healthy baby boy with dark blue eyes, a short nose, and dark brown eyebrows. A face that Rhett would soon grow uncomfortably familiar with.